Oh, here it comes.
Carrie, I'm home! Any more news? Thank you! It's silly. I've been waiting for this moment for 3 months, and now I feel like I can't even wait 3 more minutes. Today's the day. December 23, 1903, have survived perilous trip reported in papers, home tonight. Leave it to my brothers to mock the wild and inaccurate stories that have been reported by the press. Whether it's in a matter of seconds, minutes, or hours, it doesn't really matter, I guess. They're actually going to be home tonight. 6 days ago, I received another telegram from Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, which I've been carrying with me ever since. Success. 4 flights Thursday morning, all against 21-mile wind, started from level with engine power alone. Average speed through air, 31 miles, longest 57 seconds. Informed press, home Christmas. All of their hard work and dreams were realized when they did something that no other human beings have ever done before, and most would never even dare to do.
Catherine!
Oh, goodness, Carrie, they're home! Carrie, please make sure Conrad's away. Oh,
Anyway, it's like I was saying, it's just like that fork in the road down there. We could go one way and agree to give it all up and resume our bicycle business.
Or we go the other way and fully commit all of our time and finances to flying.
Right, of course we're going the other way. There's no turning back now.
No turning back. I want you to know that I feel the exact same way. Matter of fact, I think tomorrow morning we should start building a new engine right away.
welcome home. I'm so proud of you both.
Hey, it's good to be home, and just as promised, we made it by Christmas.
Yes, your calculations were right again.
We missed you, sis. We often wish that you were with us, but then your adoring high school students would be the ones missing you.
I swear, sometimes I think you need me more than they do. Did you miss my company, or did you just miss the washing and ironing of your clothes, having your meals seen to, typing your correspondence?
All right, point taken.
You're not even home for a minute, and already you've wounded us. Of course we missed you, Goose.
It's the same old sweat.
I do wish I could have been there. You know I would have, if at all possible. I want to hear every single solitary detail so I feel I was there.
Father inside?
He is. He just woke up. He'll be down in a moment. Will, you can't go in there yet.
Why in the world not?
You must know, Carrie is making you a special meal. She's still setting everything up.
Oh, well, there's not much of a surprise. There's no mistaking the scent of steak cooking.
Porterhouse, if you must know, but let's not ruin her surprise, all right? At least you don't know the special dessert she's prepared for you. We could sneak inside for a moment if you really want to, but you have to be quiet.
We better not. Not if that means letting Carrie down. Our meals will suffer if that girl gets in a snit.
It's probably obvious that I'm devoted to my brothers, isn't it? It's funny, even though I'm their younger sister, I've also had to help run this household since our mother died 14 years ago when I was almost 15. The day she died, Father said the light went out of our home. I would give anything to have her back again, especially now, so she could share the excitement of their success. She would be so proud, though quietly so. Mother could be painfully shy. Orville inherited that characteristic from her. But don't think Orv is always shy and retiring. He's an avid cyclist who's ever on fire with new inventions. And while he finds it difficult to speak to strangers, he can be such a tease and practical jokester with family and friends. Orville, maker of delicious candies and occasional mandolin player, is also the brother I'm closer to because we're closest in age. Although please don't go sharing that with Rushlin, Lauren, or Wilbur. Yes, dear Wilbur. At 36, he's 4 years older than Orv. Will reads constantly and has an extraordinary memory. And although he's more outgoing than Orv, Will is rather reserved, yet he has a delightfully dry sense of humor. He's a reluctant but gifted public speaker, although not so gifted when it comes to dressing himself. Whereas Orville is very particular about his appearance and can even work in the cycle shop all day and come out spotless. Sometimes I have to inspect Wilbur before he leaves the house to make sure he even matches. He's also a surprisingly good singer and harmonica player. Since we have a bit of time, I'd like you both to open this now. Consider it an early Christmas surprise, but really it's just something to say congratulations.
Who gets the honor of opening it?
I think we should flip a coin.
Why the smiles?
I'll tell you later. Go ahead, Orville.
Let's see what we have here. Oh, it's the toy Pinot helicopter Father gave us when we were kids. I didn't think we still had this.
Where'd you find
Well,
this?
no, Carrie found it a few weeks ago while she was cleaning.
You know, this is what started our whole grand adventure. It might sound odd, but I still consider this gift a very important event in my life.
I do too. Do you remember the hours we spent playing with this?
Not to mention all the time we spent trying to build our own larger models.
Thank you, Kate. This means a lot.
Yes, thank you. We promise not to lose it this time. Can you imagine where we would be if Father came home from that church trip with a deck of playing cards instead?
You would have built something spectacular with those cards, no doubt.
Our oh-so-wise sister. Oh, show her the sketches you made of the camp. She can see what we built to house the glider and the flyer.
I wish they could be so talkative with everyone. It took incessant nagging on my part to convince Wilbur to speak in front of the Western Society of Engineers 2 years ago. When I asked if his speech would be witty or scientific, he shook his head and said, no, it'll be pathetic. It wasn't, of course. It was a great success. Orville, Wilbur, would you mind saying a few words to these kind people? I'm sure they would love to hear how you became interested in flight and what led up to your days at Kitty Hawk. Please. I'll make sure Carrie gives you seconds of dessert.
We'd be honored. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Now, as you can see, our interest in flight began when we were children. Yes, this toy helicopter made quite an impression on us. Our father, he was a bishop, and he delighted in selecting toys that would stimulate our imaginations. He wanted us to be curious and have a thirst for knowledge.
Even though I'm the only one who graduated from college, the shelves of books we have inside served as Wilbur and Orville's university. The books we all read served as home study that was both broad and deep.
Philosophy, history, science, mathematics, music, language, literature. Our books flew us to many places long before we ever seriously considered flying anywhere.
Yes, and after much research, we determined that a successful flying machine required 3 things. Wings to lift it into the air,
An engine to move it forward with sufficient speed so that the wind going over the wings would generate that lift.
and a means of controlling the machine in the air.
Watching the way people balance a bicycle helped them figure out how to control an airplane.
That's right. You see, we realized that flying an airplane was not like driving a wagon or operating an automobile, but an airplane, just like a bicycle, is an unstable device. Well, the rider intuitively has to make adjustments in order to keep control. For example, when making a turn, a bicycle rider will lean toward the center of the turn to keep balance. So we thought that an airplane should work the same way, but how do you get that airplane to lean over like a bicycle?
One way is to change the amount of lift on either end of the wing. If you have more lift on the left end and less on the right, the left end will rise, the right end will fall. The entire plane will then tilt to the right, just like a bicycle rider making a right-hand turn.
Now that's a great idea, but how do you change the lift on each end? Well, I found the idea one day with some help from an old empty bicycle inner tube box. Now one day in our cycle shop I had one of these empty boxes in my hands and I just absent-mindedly started twisting it like this. Then it suddenly dawned on me. If this box were a pair of wings, twisting the ends in opposite directions would change the amount of lift on each end, and it would cause the wings to tilt left or right.
And thus, the idea for the wing warp was born. We built a model biplane kite to test it, and it worked.
Next, we built and tested our own manned gliders.
They chose Kitty Hawk, North Carolina because the winds blew steadily, the beach was free of obstructions, and the remote location meant they wouldn't be troubled by the press or gawkers.
Not that we consider any of you to be gawkers.
No, certainly not. But none of you are from the press, are you? What is that in your hand?
3 years ago, last summer, they headed out to the Outer Banks to test their first glider.
Kitty Hawk in the summer is like the Sahara, or at least what I imagine the Sahara to be like. Though I don't think there are too many 5-blanket cold nights in the Sahara like we experienced at Kitty Hawk. Not to mention all the black flies and the mosquitoes. They ate right through our underwear.
They don't want to hear
It was miserable.
All right, it was miserable. We were on a grand adventure. The few locals we got to know and the men working at the U.S. Life Saving Service Station nearby were welcoming and very helpful.
Our glider test that year confirmed our basic ideas and taught us a great deal. One thing that Wilbur learned the hard way is to keep his mouth shut when landing, so as not to end up with a mouthful of sand.
All right, but that incredible feeling of gliding through the air made it all worthwhile, Orv.
2 years ago, they hired machinist Charlie Taylor to help out with the cycle shop because they were so busy with their experiments. I can assure you I had nothing to do with hiring him. I'll admit he is a good mechanic. I didn't appreciate his smelly cigars, and he didn't seem to appreciate me dropping by to keep an eye on everything.
Will, do you think now would be a good time to tell Kate that we've taken up smoking cigars?
Yeah.
We could have one.
Oh,
Right?
don't even joke about that. That was also the same year they returned to Kitty Hawk to test their second glider.
We solved some problems, but we left that summer thoroughly confused because things didn't work out the way we had predicted. Back then, we doubted if we would ever resume our experiments.
I made the prediction that man would fly one day, but not within 1,000 years.
They never gave up, though.
Kate, that's thanks in large part to your unwavering encouragement. You know, even when we doubted ourselves, you never stopped believing in us.
No, and I never will.
As we investigated our failures further, we discovered that the calculations that men had been using for years to determine lift, well, they were incorrect. So we worked very hard to establish correct numbers.
We took nothing lightly, since we'd be staking our lives on our findings. But the experiments we made with our wind tunnel provided the answers we were looking for. They helped us to design the most efficient wing shapes. We were ready to attempt to fly again.
In 1902, they returned to Kitty Hawk to make manned tests on their third glider. This time, they flew it over 250 times.
We were in the air from dawn till dusk, and we achieved all of our goals. We had built a fully controllable glider that was without a doubt the best glider that had ever been built. So now it was time to build a powered airplane, one that could take off on level ground at a dead stop.
So, when we returned to Dayton, we wrote to a number of the new automobile manufacturers, asking them to build us an engine to our specifications, but none of them were interested.
So with the help of machinist Charlie Taylor, they decided to build it themselves.
That's right, and in just 6 weeks, we had our 12 horsepower, 200-pound engine built and tested for power. We also decided to use 2 wooden propellers that would spin in opposite directions by means of bicycle chains.
These propellers were very efficient. It was really a major breakthrough for them.
We left Dayton on September 25th and arrived at our camp at the Kill Devil Hills in Kitty Hawk a few days later. The 1903 season was upon
Now,
us.
this is what I've been waiting for, to hear about your 4 flights.
Well, as you know, the first couple months were plagued with delays due to weather, equipment problems, waiting on new parts, but by Monday, December 14th, we were finally ready to attempt the unknown.
For the sake of fairness, we decided to flip a coin to see who would fly first. Wilbur won the coin toss.
It was as simple as all that. There's no incessant bartering you're conveniently leaving out.
I find that
We
if
swear. Now, I got into position. Orville ran alongside the lawn trail. The machine climbed up about 15 feet into the air, and then it stalled. And it crashed right back into the sand after just 3.5 seconds.
we spent the next 2 days repairing the machine so we could get her to fly again.
And writing to me to say there is now no question of final success. But weren't you at all scared or unsure?
A bit of fear, perhaps, but mostly it was just pure excitement. We were too prepared to feel unsure.
When we woke the morning of December 17th, there was a cold 24-mile-per-hour wind blowing and there were patches of ice on the ground. You know, now that I think about it, I can't believe we attempted to fly a new and untried machine in those conditions.
Well, there was no stopping us. We were running out of time. The weather was giving out. We knew that it was now time to fly or go home.
But now it was my turn. I shook Wilbur's hand before I climbed into place.
Or if I could tell you now, I almost didn't want to let go of your hand. Well, for a split second, I thought, what if we were never to see each other again?
Well, you weren't so lucky. I'm here to tell the tale. At about 10:35, I shifted the lever to the left and I went down the rail into wind gusts of up to 27 miles an hour. I then lifted and I actually flew for 120 feet before landing safely back in the sand.
I had one of the men, John Daniels, stand ready behind our tripod waiting to snap the shutter on the camera. Now, he thinks he caught the machine when it was up in midair, but we won't really know for sure till we develop the negative back in our shed.
I didn't give him much time to take the photograph. I was only in the air for about 12 seconds. But it was the first time in the history of the world that a machine carrying a man had raised itself by its own power into the air in full flight, had sailed forward without reduction of speed, and landed at a point as high as that from which it had started. All of our hopes and dreams over the past 4 years came true in 12 seconds. Now we knew. We were on the right track. We knew that this machine could fly.
I have goosebumps. I really do. I can't wait to see both of you flying with my own eyes.
Well, maybe we'll get you up there one day as well.
I'll hold you to that, Will. You can both be sure that's a chance I would never miss. It doesn't even seem real, does it? Your flight lasted an amazing, seemingly eternal 12 seconds. Well, those seconds are certainly eternal now. It often only takes 1 second to change destinies, lives, the course of history. They had 12 of those seconds. Imagine what it would feel like to accomplish something considered impossible, and then to sustain that for 12 glorious seconds. What thoughts went through their minds during those 12 seconds, those 12 wondrous seconds?
Lifting, it's really happening. Breathe, control the front rudder, breathe. 2 months on one side, keep that balance. Pitching forward, come on, go, flying. It's working, I'm flying. Oh, like a dream. Thank you, Mother. Oh, coming down. We did it. Oh.
Only 12 seconds indeed. May you all have 12 such wondrous seconds in your lifetimes. Say, Wilbur, did you go back up again next?
Yes, I did, and it was almost exactly the same as the first one, another 12 seconds, but this time I flew a little bit farther. I flew 175 feet.
I made the third flight around 11:40. I was in the air for 15 seconds, and I went 200 feet. But Will's fourth and final flight was a real grand finale.
Oh.
Well, I tried again at noon, and this time I had much better control of the machine. I flew 852 feet for 59 seconds. It was incredible, Kate.
I humbly admit it was quite impressive.
Thank you kindly, brother.
But 59 seconds. The telegram said 57.
Well, Western Union can make mistakes too. Oh, speaking of mistakes, now we come to the reason why we didn't have more than 4 flights on December 17th. See, after Will had landed, all the men were standing around, animatedly discussing his flight, when out of nowhere, a huge gust of wind came, struck the machine, and flipped it over.
No one was hurt, I hope.
John Daniels was badly bruised, trying to hold the machine down, but no broken bones. In fact, he now has the distinction of being the world's first survivor of an airplane crash.
We're having what's left of the machine sent back here.
Yes, but we want to get back in the saddle very soon. We want to start building a new engine right away.
Will you be returning to Kitty Hawk?
No, Kate, we've decided to stick closer to home for a little while. Now we're going to try Huffman Prairie as our next field. That's only about 8 miles to the east, and it's relatively isolated.
Well, I am thrilled about your accomplishments, and I'm thrilled that you're home. I know Father will be too. Shall we go inside now?
By all means. Will you mind hearing all of our stories again?
Certainly not. I can hardly wait to see the pride in Father's eyes.
Kate, if it's as strong as that reflected in your eyes, we're very fortunate men indeed.
Yeah, we're proud of you too, sis. We really appreciate all of your encouragement, keeping an eye on our shop. If it wasn't for you, I don't think we'd be where we are today.
Something tells me you would, but I appreciate the sentiment. Welcome home, brothers.